So boundaries show the world who you are and who you're not. They reveal what's important to you, what you'll tolerate, and how confident and loving you are with yourself. Greetings everyone, it's Jordan Parker. Welcome back to my channel. Fundamentally, healthy boundaries equals healthy relationships and empowerment. Anger and self-esteem are your two greatest allies. Poor boundaries are often the result of the following: low self-esteem, integrity issues, lack of clarity or purpose, or lack of connection with yourself. While these are often the underlying themes, I want to go over a few signs you need to work on your boundaries. The first is that you're angry a lot. Anger is so often related to boundaries, and in particular, poor boundaries. People-pleasing is another sign. And people-pleasing is kind of the shadow side or the other side of the coin of anger. A reluctance to be honest and vulnerable with your needs and communicate in a direct way. Another sign is feeling trapped. Either trapped in a relationship, a job, a situation. You might be feeling suffocated or unexpressed. And again, these often point out to having poor boundaries. And the last sign is exhaustion. If you are often exhausted, it's high time to look at your boundaries. Most often, your boundaries need to up-level, or you may need to soften them. Are you holding boundaries that are too high to let life flow through you? So if you identify with any of these signs, I want to speak to a few cures that, in my experience, are most effective. The number one cure for poor boundaries is raising your self-esteem. This can be done in so many ways, but it's helpful just to start in one area of your life. What can you do to feel more confident in your interactions? How you carry yourself, your posture, your appearance, being competent in an area of your work or creativity, self-expression, or hobbies. The next cure is purpose or higher alignment, getting very clear on what you want and what you're a stand for. So an example on how clarity helps. So when I have a day that's full of space where there's not much on the calendar, I can get distracted by the most random small things or interactions. It's actually harder in those situations to set boundaries. If you contrast that with days that I have a clear and very important deadline that day, my boundaries are so much clearer because I already have something I'm committed to, and I can feel in my body the sense of urgency and alignment that this needs to get done. So another cure is identifying your needs. It is difficult to set boundaries or draw a line when you don't even know what you need. This one is harder and it takes more time, it takes more introspection, but it's totally worth it. Anger into action. Anger is almost always an opportunity to set or adjust a boundary. In this way, you can use anger as an ally and get really close to it over time. And I don't want to necessarily say you welcome it, but more you accept it. It can give you a lot of information on what you need, where the line is, and once you cool down, what action to take. Just as a side note, anger is a great indication that something's off. You might not find the answer though while you're angry. It may take journaling, letting some of that energy out until you get to clarity on what the actual action is. But anger will always inform you that a boundary has been crossed or needs to be set. For bonus points as a cure, you can look to nonviolent communication. It's a program and system that's been around for decades that helps people connect with their core needs and, just as importantly, learn to express them. And beyond taking care of themselves, really help guide others to their own needs. And what you find over time is that absolutely two parties can always find a way to get their needs met. It just takes a deeper level of commitment to seeing through with the communication. So in the beginning of setting boundaries, I want to just invite you to do it awkwardly, because it's going to happen. I also want to make space for you to do it angry, because that's going to happen too. And lastly, to do it inconsistently. If you're having trouble even starting practicing this, it's usually because fear is getting in the way. And one thing that's always helped me is to imagine somebody close to me and having somebody do something that's out of line towards them. That almost always will connect me with the healthy, protective archetype to move forward and take action. And in addition to when you're getting started, you can always practice out loud. I do that. Just get in front of a mirror, or in the car. Picture whatever conversation you're going to have and just practice. You can do it with a friend or a counselor. The important thing is to start expressing what you want to say. A few things to remember and consider. First is, the closer the relationship to you, often the harder it is to set boundaries. So when you're first getting started, I would suggest starting with someone that you're not as close to. There's less at risk and it's just going to be easier. Also, you're going to get scorned, so hang in there. It's not going to be everyone. It'll actually probably be less people than you imagine, but it's going to happen. But it doesn't mean you need to get rid of your boundary. Instead, take several days to reflect and cool off. If you then still feel that your boundary was too much, then you can go back and adjust it. So you can mark my words that despite what your mind thinks, almost all of your relationships will remain after setting boundaries. You will lose some, or a few, but the majority of them will stay. In fact, they're going to get better over time. They're going to be stronger and more respectful as a result. And the ones that left are not the ones that ultimately are meant for you. So the gold on the other side of setting boundaries is plentiful. And I just want to name a few things here. First of all is confidence, power, honesty, self-respect, and genuine connection. I also want to say that boundaries are sexy. And if you don't believe me, give it a try. If you're in a partnership and you feel too enmeshed or you're taking each other for granted, see if you can set a few healthy boundaries that are genuine, not out of playing games. And your partner may not like it at first, but I almost guarantee you that at some point they're going to come around and they're going to respect you more. And with that, there's attraction. So with all this said, I invite you to go out there and use these tools to get awkward, to upset a few people, but come away seeing that life rewards people being honest and taking a stand for themselves. I can say from my own experience that learning to set boundaries is an art, not a science. It brings up all of your humanity, and not all of it's pretty. So the process itself can be quite messy at times. The pendulum, when you set boundaries, usually swings a little too far in the other direction. So inevitably you have to come back and self-correct. But all of this is totally normal and totally part of the process and to be expected. So don't give up. Just know that you're making progress. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time.